My name is Rich. I'm a tech career coach, and I am starting a brand new YouTube channel and brand new YouTube series dedicated to just sales AI, starting with automating my sales function, sales and admissions function for myself and my team completely away. And since every agency that I talk to seemed to not give us very clear answers in terms of how much this would cost, how long this would go out there and take, and whether or not they're going to even be able to deliver a successful outcome. I just decided, since we're teaching this stuff, why don't we just go ahead and do it ourselves? Because honestly speaking, I've talked to more than probably 20, 30 agencies out there, and none of them seem to be able to do what it is that we need, nor have they done, nor have they convinced me that for the amount of money that they're asking for, that they could actually deliver the quality that we're looking for, and they're going to be as involved in it as our team. So I thought to myself, we should just go ahead and do it. For those of you who don't know me, I run a company here called Product Gym, and I actually have a few different programs where we help people make a transition into tech roles. Product management's one of them. AI engineer is one of them. Cybersecurity is one of them. HVAC is also one of them. And for this project, we're going to be using 11 Labs. We are going to be using Claude. We're going to be using VAPI. We're going to be using Go High Level. And to narrate this entire bad boy, we are going to be using something called Speakly, which you'll see me use, and it's going to be a total game changer. But like just starting with any project, we want to go ahead and ask ourselves a few different questions. Number one, what are the problems that we're trying to solve, and why are these problems important to solve? Number two, what success outcomes are we trying to achieve, and how are we defining success? Number three, what is the major positive impact for myself and for the business as a result of the success outcomes? I will need motivation when I encounter a wall, and there will be many walls. What is the point of documenting the entire process on YouTube, and then what are the next steps in the project? Well, I think for starters here, in terms of documenting the entire process on YouTube, for starters, probably, and I'm going to be using Speakly now, the entire point of documenting this entire process on YouTube is to be able to backtrack what it is that you did. If you watch movies like Iron Man, or if you watch like The Martian, they are video documenting the entire thing, because when you're running through a wall, sometimes you're going to go ahead and forget, so why the hell were we trying to solve this problem in the first place? And watch this thing go, right? That's pretty cool, right? Yeah. And then now I'm going to go ahead and actually I'm just going to go and do this. So it's like so. So for starters, I'm going to go ahead and I'm documenting it for YouTube. Another reason why I'm documenting this, hopefully the companies that I have referenced, such as Claude, 11 Labs, VAPI, Go High Level, and then also GenSpark, is going to get me some kind of brand ambassadorship or influencer deal, because I'm going to be actively educating a demographic of people that are trying to utilize a combination of these tools to solve a very specific problem, which is automating away the sales function. So this would actually be the second reason why I'm documenting it on YouTube. Okay, the third reason I'd be documenting this on YouTube, and on top of just being able to backtrack, is that probably I would say you're going to be running into like a good amount of walls. I know I'm going to be running through a good amount of walls, and I have to go out there and actually remind myself that when I do run into a wall and when I lose motivation, why the hell did I set out to do this project in the first place? And exactly why it is that I have to go ahead and actually finish it. Okay, so that way I can go out there and actually remember, and then actually like I can go out there and just review the entire process, like when I'm having lunch by myself, and then just taking a look at like, oh yeah, that's the reason why I did that. In terms of next step, like immediately next steps, I know for a fact, give me a second here. First things first is I'm going to go ahead and document all the problems I'm going to go ahead and solve. Next, I'm going to go ahead and document exactly what are my success outcomes. How do I define success? And the timeline that I'm expecting to finish this up in is I'm going to try to do it in 10 days. I know that's like crazy, but as of right now, it's March 20th. It's Friday. And, I could be doing other things, but it's quite cold right now in New York. And I'm going to try to go out there and do a little bit of building. Next, once I've actually defined my entire project scope, I'm going to pop everything into Claude and I'm going to go and create a project with it. And inside the Claude project, I'm going to define what are my outcomes that I'm trying to go ahead and achieve. But more importantly, I'm going to be asking Claude for immediate next steps. And within every single milestone of this project, I imagine I'm going to be leveraging Claude quite a bit to go out there and solve each and every one of these individual problems. So I'm going to have to prompt a very, very, very specific project that lets Claude understand exactly what it is that I'm trying to go out there and solve, so that it understands that and it's able to work with me to solve all these different problems. So for starters, let's go ahead and talk about the problems that we're trying to solve. Essentially, when you're running a business like this, or when you're running like a cybersecurity program, or I also have an HVAC program, all these different programs, you're selling high ticket. And high ticket just means, it's a very fancy way of selling it. You say you're selling transformation. Transformation requires a lot of effort to make that transformation. And a lot of people, as much as they say they want a change in their life, they really ain't trying to work that hard. So you can expect for a fact that at the very least, 50% of the people that you talk to are not going to go ahead and make a decision. They're not going to make a decision for a variety of reasons. Number one, they don't have the money to. Number two, even if they did, they're not urgent. Number three, it's like, it just doesn't really hurt that bad right now. Or they don't really feel like it could work. Or they don't really feel like it could work for them. So if we're defining the problems here, is so much of what we're doing right now in high ticket coaching is selling a transformation based upon the urgency of that individual. What these champs also don't realize on their end is that so much of what we do is actually teaching them how to interview for jobs. And a lot of companies, when they're actually screening for candidates, they're also not that serious about hiring either. So whatever it is, like whatever slick fucking bullshit they think they're pulling on us, companies are actually pulling on them. But I totally get it, because to convince somebody that is extremely comfortable that they have to get ready to be uncomfortable takes a lot. Something had to trigger, right? But unfortunately, by the time that people actually want to go ahead and actually make that transformation, sometimes there's also other circumstances that prevent them from doing so. So we waste a lot of time actually talking to people that were never ever really going to make a decision in the first place. And this is where the conversational voice AI agent comes to solve that problem. Next off, you also have the problem of actually, in the world of high ticket coaching, you also have the problem of hiring, training, and retaining good closers and admissions people. Because number one, when we're talking about actually hiring for people, sales positions are the hardest roles to hire for, because even the worst salespeople do a very good job, or at least above average job, of selling themselves. There's a difficulty in training them up because they have to understand the customer, they have to understand the product, they have to understand the pain points, but they also have to understand how to pitch, right? And it's unfortunate because throughout that entire process, there will be some deals, there will be some revenue that you're going to lose out on in the short term to gain on the long term because they need to practice on some live targets. Having said that, though, the burnout for salespeople is very real because even when you get them to the point where they're very good, at some point, because in sales you're just trading time for money, at some point they just don't care to do it anymore. So they either honestly sell something else or they move on to like growth marketing or they just move on to doing something entirely different. So the longevity of it also doesn't last because like sales, kind of like the NFL, is kind of not for long. Also, there are two things that I don't think salespeople, possibly three things that human salespeople really lack that eventually, I don't know if the technology is good enough right now. I think it largely comes down to what we prompt and the RAG that we implement into it. But number one, you're talking about speed to lead. Everything about sales comes down to speed to lead. That's number one. You're not going to be able to outrace or outsprint a machine. That is just a fact, right? Nobody's going to be on it, and even on the days that they are on it, you can't expect for 365 days a year, 24/7, they're going to be on it. Something else that the conversational voice AI agent is just going to have a supreme advantage over is going to be follow-up. Most salespeople also don't want to do follow-up, and also at the same time, even the ones that are willing to do it, sometimes they will go out there and forget, and even the ones that are on top of it, they might not do it as well as a machine. Because the other thing that we also have to factor in for is, there's different months out of the year, different levels of urgencies, different promotions. With the machine, I imagine you can just go ahead and prompt it one time, like, hey, we are doing like a back to school sale, or we're doing a Black Friday promotion, or we're doing an end of the year sale. All of which, if you actually have like human beings, you'd have to go out there and maybe educate them on how we're gonna, like, okay, this month we're doing an add-on, we're gonna do this promo. You have to get them acclimated on that. With the machine, you can just go out there and prompt it, or you can go out there and beef up the RAG. So these are all of our problems. So let's talk about how do we go ahead and define success from like a very top level. I would say the first outcome that we want from a conversational voice agent would be a conversational voice agent that we can add onto the website, which would be a widget. That's actually where I just added in the one, but I would actually call it, what? I would call it actually widget on website. Okay. Now, next one, I would actually say, I would have a speed to lead inbound follow-up voice agent. I would have an outbound lead follow-up and appointment setting voice agent. I would have, that was pretty cool. I would also have, thinking about it, what else would we want to go out there and need, right? What other practical applications? So it's somebody that they could talk to the website, somebody that I would imagine call is booked from the website, and the voice agent immediately dials out, right? So I would actually have, I would actually think to myself to pre-qualify. So we would have inbound consultation follow-up voice agent. There we go. What else would we go out there and actually have, right? I imagine something else that'd be pretty cool is, well, we could essentially take all of this information. I would build a new sales hire mock role playing voice agent. Right? I could probably do voice AI agent to interview possible new sales hires. I would go out there and probably voice AI agent, high ticket closer. Voice AI agent, pre-qualifier. Voice AI agent for student success. I'd have a voice AI agent as a coach. That'd be pretty cool, right? Voice AI agent as a content creator. I would also go out there and think to myself, we could probably go ahead and do a few other things, which is voice AI agent, sales trainer. So this would be on every single step of the funnel. So I would say in terms of the customer facing side, we would have all this data. So let me think about it. Sales trainer, interview possible new sales hires. So content creator, that'd be pretty cool. I'd put that thing down here. I'd have a coach. So let's actually run through all of this. At the very top of the funnel, we could have the voice AI agent start talking to people directly on the website. So this is something that 11 Labs already has. So you can actually go ahead and actually go to a website and they're actually talking to you. And I would actually have a few different things that would come with it, right? So give me a second here. So this is actually the sales voice AI agent, pre-qualifier. Okay, so I would go out there and automate follow-up consultation. Automate follow-up consultation and calendar invite. I would probably go ahead and do that. I'd probably have to create a feature where we're going to integrate the voice notes into our CRM, Go High Level. Wow. I'm actually pretty pumped up for this. Right? So we would have an inbound consultation follow-up voice agent. As soon as somebody books the call, they immediately dial out to go out there and see if it's a worthwhile lead. Or remove this unqualified lead from our calendar to free up space, right? But we know that the faster somebody can go ahead and start talking to a lead, our chances of actually converting that lead into actual revenue exponentially goes up. The third use case is we would have an outbound lead follow-up agent where it's just calling people maybe that scheduled a call with us 1 month ago, 2 months ago, 3 months ago, 4 months ago, 5 months ago, 6 months ago, 7 months ago, and asking them, hey, like what's going on right now, right? And they would actually give them like a little bit of an update, and then they go out there and would direct the follow-up. The fourth use case is actually a pre-qualifier where they show up to the call, and we're getting so many calls actually booked right now that we can't handle it all. Is it would actually just pre-qualify, like, are you actually looking to sign up for a course in the next 30 days? What are your challenges, right? Do they have the ability to go out there and enroll? We would actually have all those problems actually solved. Fifth use case is we actually have a voice AI agent that can actually close the transaction. I think that would be very, very hard to do without an actual human being. But if we start laying down the groundwork right now, we could probably get pretty close to there. We would automate the follow-up consultation and actually send out the calendar invite, which is actually why we're going to be using Vappy, because 11 Labs has their own agent platform, but Vappy would be, it'll just automate a little bit better. But we could take all of that data for student success too, right? Because so much of the questions that people ask us about our program, just because they decided to enroll, doesn't necessarily mean they will stop asking us the same questions because we give them so much information. So if they had a 24/7 student success voice AI agent that's like, hey, today's Tuesday, what should I be working on? Today's Wednesday, what should I be working on? We could probably go out there and I would say expedite the success outcome window, and we can actually get it down. We also host calls with different coaches, but people need more engagement than just dedicated weekly times. So we could probably have the voice AI agent become a coach. This would also be a phenomenal tool to also serve as a mock interviewer, because so much of what we're doing has to do with job hunting and interviewing. So if they wanted to go out there and mock role play with somebody, that's another use case. We would have a voice AI agent as a mock interview partner for students, right? What else can we go out there and do? Well, we could have a mock, like a role-playing partner for new sales hires. Salespeople are the best people, like they do the best job at bullshitting on an interview. So we should provide them with scenarios where it's just like, hey, somebody says, I want to think about it. Somebody says, your course is too expensive. And to actually just give them all that data, it can also act as a sales trainer. I would be very impressed to see if it could actually, we could actually program it to become a content creator to record YouTube videos for us too. Record long form and short form YouTube content, right? And then we actually have all of our use cases right here. So it's a total of 14. That's pretty damn good. And then let's talk about what are some of the major, like I would say, positive impact for myself in the business. Well, I think for starters here, we can go ahead and talk to more people in a shorter amount of time, which would allow us to go out there and help more people. The other thing here is, even though if we're not the best program for somebody else, if we're not the best program for somebody at this particular time, we can also direct them to better resources, because we have all these different direct and indirect competitors, and all of us exist for a particular reason. So if we're not the best fit for them, we should be able to direct them to better better resources to help themselves out. I imagine if I put out enough content out there, we would also be getting possibly some brand endorsement deals or some brand ambassadorships. Also got to go out there and tag the right people too. Helps us blow up another YouTube channel that's a part of our portfolio. I also imagine that this would get some people, some business owners, to contact us in the coaching space to ask us to basically do this for them, which is another revenue stream. I can also envision giving some of our own students access to some of this type of work, because we'd probably be too busy to do all this ourselves in-house. And again, it just goes back to, I would just be able to document every single thing so I can backtrack all of my steps and I can remember. Because as a business owner, I get pulled into a lot of different directions every single day, and it's easy for me to forget what is it that we're working on, why are we working on that. You got to have multiple priorities and projects at any given time, so this is actually very good. So I've got also right here, I would say positive impact and benefits. Now that I have this doc, success outcomes and types of voice AI agents and or applications. I'm going to add this in here. Challenges to be solved. I'm going to add this one in here too. And then there's also another reason why I'm doing all of this. All of this data and information that I'm providing via voice, it is actually going to help train up Claude to operate more effectively to help me accomplish these objectives. Because I'm setting up everything right now from the very beginning for success. Purpose of YouTube series. Okay, and then next steps, which I think you guys are just gonna have to keep on watching. We're gonna take all of this, we're gonna add it into Claude now, and let's go out there and get ready to do some mayhem. Please subscribe if you guys have not already, but I have added all of this information in here. And now we are going to get ready, high ticket conversational voice AI agent. Now we're going to get ready to actually play with all these different tools, and you guys are going to go out there and see what we're going to do. But I wanted to show this because I want to show it from 0 to 1, and then also behind the scenes how we actually do what's like often now even more popular is -1 to 0. Okay. The other thing here is I want to go out there and add one more thing. Is we really want to actually leverage technology and AI to solve a very real world problem. As tiring as some of these calls are, I always ask myself, so what are we doing about it? Are we doing anything to solve this problem? As of right now, as you can see, this is actually where it started, March 20th for us, and we're going to see it through.